run it. Hit the field, blast off, watch them all fall. This is AFC North Talk. Got me hype, it's about to be a touchdown. Got the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and the Browns. Are you listening? It's time to get it hype. Tune in when the season poppin'. Yeah, we going live. Hey, knock them out. Ay, first down, going hard. Yes, indeed. AFC North Talk. Let's go. Hey, AFC North Talk.
Welcome to another edition of AFC North Talk. Here we are. The end of the season, by the way, Ace is coming. Ace is coming. So you Bengals representative, Ace is coming. Season finale. I haven't finished Hard Knocks yet, but the season finale happened on Saturday. Saturday was AFC North Day in the NFL, with two great games in the one good game, it happened, and then we're gonna preview Saturday's game again. It's another Saturday game for the Ravens Steelers. Happened to be AFC North matchup once more. But let's start recapping this week. Let's start with the Ravens Browns. This is a game, Q. I was watching this game, and there was something very apparent to me. The Ravens were just trying to make sure they end this game quickly, and with that, they were making a lot of mistakes, in my opinion, because they just want you know when you want to try to finish something so quick and you just doesn't get exactly perfectly. So
they were trying to beat us by 30 in the first half. That's what the Ravens were doing. They were going for like knockout blows and everything else like that. Yep. They were very eager to win this game, and they didn't have to be eager. They could have just waited. They would have won this game, and they still won the game. Look, the best thing about this game, two things. One, fat guy pick. Great. Only thing that like I regret about that, I mean, don't we all agree? Shouldn't that have been a Jameis Winston interception? Like, could you imagine? Like, doesn't that feel like an interception Jameis Winston throws? Doesn't feel like a Bailey Zapp interception. But yeah, Bailey Zapp just threw it right into the biggest man who plays football currently for an NFL team. Like, there's no wider man than who he threw it. Like, there's no guy that you can say, hey, man, I don't know how you didn't see him underneath, dog. He's giant. Like, how did he slip? Like, what happened? What masked his presence? My man is a refrigerator out there, like a deep freezer, like wide, brother. Like, I don't know how he threw that interception to him. Michael Pierce, you do lose points for taking the slide there. Nah, you need to run your ass out there to see what happens. Yeah, he was scared to pull a hamstring. They got a game next week, right? Well, you know, you need to run that thing out, brother. That's a once in a lifetime opportunity, a pick six from like the 20 from a man that large. So that was
Michael Pierce is like a Hummer in shoes, so it would have been hard to bring him down, even if he's not all that mobile. But yeah, that was at least fun.
Michael Pierce is an NFL street character. That's what he built like.
Yeah,
he's built like a Nintendo 64 graphic. Okay,
who in the Browns was gonna change Michael Pierce? In the O line or anything? They're gonna be like,
no, somebody was gonna tackle him. Because like that's embarrassing. You can't have that, right? Like, you know what I mean? Somebody has to do that. You can't let him score. But the other thing that I find important, you know what? I want to wait for Ace on this one because we all know the scandal that erupted at M&T Bank Stadium this weekend. So when Ace comes back in, I'll share that. But yeah, you learned absolutely nothing from this game, right? Nothing of note happened on the Cleveland Browns side other than Mike Hall got an injury. It's only an MCL tear from what I know, which means it's not going to be like he's out for like portions of next year. So thank God for that.
He should be ready for training camp, right?
Who?
He should be ready for like training camp.
With our medical staff, I never make that assumption, man. Yeah, probably, but who knows, man? We've had some really bad luck recently. Also, fun news for the Cleveland Browns: Deshaun Watson had a setback in his Achilles injury.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Which, in my opinion, not that I want anybody hurt or anything, but if you're a Browns fan, and I think if you're Deshaun Watson, you also take it. They can IR him probably for the rest of the year. You don't even have to touch the field or come to the field, so you can have him.
They should literally just say, "Hey, bro, stay home. We'll pay. Don't stay home."
That's my point.
I mean, I think that's where they were leaning anyways. I think it would have gotten awkward in July if he was trying to really come back and play. Yeah. I have made this statement since he tore that Achilles. I'm like, he's not going to play next year, and he's going to get cut June 1st, 2026. I mean, they have $44 million of insurance on his cap number if he doesn't play next year. There's absolutely no incentive for him to play football for anybody next year. So he's not going to play 2025. He'll get cut post June 1st. Now I can get to my other most important thing about this game, Ace. Did we find Nova Stone?
I think we did, bro.
Did we find Nova Stone?
That's right. We did tweet it. You guys can see the video in our Twitter page.
There's one man who would have a Tom Brady Ravens jersey, which is nasty work.
Yeah,
that's just nasty work. Like that is just like I hate the Steelers, dog. Like that is just an anti-Steelers jersey. That's not even a Ravens.
I admire the commitment to the bid at that point, though. That's funny.
That's a $300 jersey, right? You would have to imagine. Yeah, I get that. It looked real too. It didn't look like one of them joints you got from like Dick's Sporting Goods or what's the one place you used to sell the fake jerseys? They used to sell all the hats. It's like Champion World or some shit like that. Anyways,
there was a place called Born Trade that did it for a little bit.
There's a place at every mall that sells you the fake jersey with the names on it, right? Like every mall got one, right? Yeah. Like it wasn't one of those with like the puffy collar. Like no, that shit had the Nike Vapor. That's a real jersey. They don't let you do that at the NFL store and put Tom Brady's name on the back of it. So how do you get that name on the back of it? Like that is, I gotta respect that. Now I know why he be dropping them super chats in there because he just lives up to the bit. So shout out to Nova Stone. There's no way in the world you're gonna convince me that was anybody else but Nova Stone, because even when they asked him something, I'm like, that shit sound like something Nova Stone would super chat. Yeah, bro. 7 fucking championship rings, bro. I'm like, he said that. He said that before, bro. Like,
you remember that?
We literally caught him on it, and that's what he said. I'm like, that's him. That's Nova Stone.
Yep.
You remember that? Remember that episode of Everybody Hates Chris when Drew gets a Wayne Gretzky jersey?
The Gretzky?
The Gretzky jersey. Yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
I was like, what? I know somebody was looking at his jersey like, oh, it's a Jacoby Jones jersey. R.I.P. Yeah. And he took that jacket off. Brady?
Yeah.
What is that? Brady? Like,
yeah, there's not too many Bradys in the NFL ever, right?
I mean, there's the one good Brady, right?
Yeah,
like,
then there's like Kyle Brady, who also played for the Patriots for a minute, I believe.
I don't even know who that is.
went to Penn State, drafted by the Jets in the.
Oh, that's how you know him.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, I know my Penn State tight ends. Don't worry.
Usually it's like a dude with the first name Brady, right? But like never last name Brady. It's a weird last name, but yeah. Only way that is true is that was Nova Stone. So shout out to Nova Stone, man. That was the highlight of the game. Everything else that happened in this pretty forgettable. Look, if you guys didn't watch it, I don't blame you. I didn't want to watch it either. I barely paid attention after like the second quarter. I'm like, all right, well, Bailey Zapp sucks. So
what was it? Sure, Bailey Zapp threw a pick six, and wasn't the next possession or the position after that they like bench him for a moment.
They started rotating quarterbacks, man. That was as soon as they start putting. All right, we'll put Bailey Zapp in for like 4 plays, then we'll see what DTR can do. Like,
bro, it was like they were playing in a bowl game. Like it was like, oh yeah, well let's just see what we got here, and it's like those are the guys out there.
Wait, hold on. And I know the 188. You have a super chat. I'll come to you soon, but what's the super chat here? Not in B-more.
Okay, so he's weighing in.
He's a great dude. No way, Nova Stone. You have an imposter.
That was Nova Stone, dog.
I don't buy it. I don't. Pixar didn't happen, bro.
Nova Stone, go check our Twitter. We did tweet.
First, I'm hearing of this person is just so suspicious. Like, I'm sorry. Like, oh, what? First he says not in Baltimore, so it doesn't seem like it could be me. And then after it says, first I'm hearing of this person. I don't know.
That's like when somebody asked Bruce Wayne about the Batman. He's like, I don't know. He seems great though. Oh man.
Yeah. Well, it's like if you're like, hey man, are you the Batman? And he's like, I'm not in Gotham right now. But this is the first I'm hearing of this Batman. Like, could you tell me more about Batman? Like, I don't know. I think it's you, bro. Like,
oh, that's funny.
I couldn't think two people in Baltimore like Tom Brady. Like people hated Brady here, hated Peyton Manning here.
Hey, whether it was you or not, it's headcanon now, bro. Like that's in the AFC North talk lore. You're Nova Stone, bro. That was Nova Stone.
Before we finish this game, because I agree with you, there's not much you can take out of this game. Like I said, I think the Ravens tried to commit too early. They were trying just hard to finish this quick, and I think that was leading to a mistake. They were out of their game a little bit. But Zay Flowers going down, that was kind of big. He's I would say he's probably doubtful for this upcoming week. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hoping he comes. He hasn't practiced. But other than those things, Jared, Ace, anything you want to add of this game before we go to like the actual game that happened after this one?
Yeah, this one was just GG's, bro. It was like end of the season. I thought the Browns made it interesting with starting Bailey Zappi, but like you said, that was proved to be. It's like, all right, Bailey Zappi sucks. We got the confirmation there.
Here's how bad the quarterback room was. Andrew Berry, his post-game press conference was like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of new guys in that room.
Yeah, I think the game just is what it was. Like, we expected it to kind of be that way. They put up a better fight than the Chiefs did. I'll say that. But, yeah, that was it, bro.
Ace, did you know you were screwed when you saw him walk into there with that Kentucky Derby hat? Carson Wentz.
Oh, yeah.
When he was walking up there just like he was going to the Derby, I'm like, oh, he's about to not cook.
Bro.
And I thought about it too. I was like, dog, Carson Wentz lost when he was last a starter and the Colts needed to beat the Jaguars to get to the playoffs. He's not about to win this game, dog. It's not about to.
Dude,
Maybe
Carson Wentz
is just trash.
Carson Wentz hasn't come through since he was in North Dakota. Like, that's the last time he came through in the clutch for a football team. Like, ever since Nick Foles won that Super Bowl, it's just been like moment after moment of like, yo, man, he's not going to pull through for you. Like, hey, I need you to play well to keep my job. Was it Frank Wright? Yeah, he needed to play well to keep my job. Nah, dog. He did the opposite. Okay. Like,
yes, sir.
Anybody who's played LA Noir recognized right away that he was dressed like Cole Phelps. Like he was about to like hit a button that said truth, doubt, or lie.
Doubt?
Doubt that. Yeah. I kept just looking. That's all I could think of the entire game was he was 1940s Los Angeles.
Like, look like he about to lose the game. Be like, it's Chinatown in the press conference.
There, anything you want to add of the Ravens Browns game?
Oh, that game sucked. I was very not energized. I had it on as like background noise, but after the pick six, I'm like, bro, all right,
bro.
That was early,
game, bro. You ain't got a PS5 or something?
I do. That's what I was watching it on. Though I was watching it on the YouTube
advance
TV.
Your dynasty mode, brother.
Okay, we have 2 super chats, and then we'll go to the other game. The 188, shout out to you, man. Appreciate all the support. I don't run and high. Mike Tomlin coaching was an embarrassment last Saturday. But Steelers/Ravens loser goes home. Goes home. Wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah, bro. What happened to the broom? My guy?
Oh, that's right. That's right. He did say that. Ray Rack
this
here
is feeling really Corvette for the Steelers. I'm not gonna lie. This second half of the season just feels real Corvette.
The Bengals tried to hand it to him. I'm not gonna lie. Like we literally tried to hand y'all that game.
Ooh, this feels real cool. Up into the points where they're playing an in-division opponent that they have the edge on, that usually doesn't beat them in these kind of moments. But I'm like, I don't know. This got that Corvette smell all over it. Like you might get that first snap and that shit goes straight over Russ's head, and you like, oh fuck.
I'll get into it in a minute.
Yeah, we'll talk about that game soon. Ray Rack here said it looks like the Browns had an O-line coach picked out before the season was even over. That was so fast.
One thing about that, there's been like these reports have been breaking as the Browns season has been ending. And it was like, oh, Mike Vrabel was helping out with the offensive line. And then ESPN, Jeremy Fowler dropped an article. He's like, Kevin Stefanski got hands-on with the offensive line. And then Roy Iverson was lauded for his work with the offensive line. I'm like, we hear about everybody working with the offensive line but Andy Dickerson. It was no surprise he was first one out. And then they brought in somebody who has heavy ties to Bill Callahan, who they lost last year, to get back to that old thing. Look, the Browns offensive linemen after this game were like, yeah, we sucked, but like we also went away from what we were brought here to do. So like I've never seen somebody get lined up more than him and Ken Dorsey got lined up to get fired, because yeah, both of them out of there with the quickness. And look, I think both the replacements were hired before they were fired, because I think Tommy Rees is going to be the offensive coordinator. He's already on the Browns.
Ray Wright also says, "Cute. I love that we think Judy had a great season with 1,200 yards, and he did with all these terrible QBs. But then you remember Josh Gordon had 1,614 games. The more I think back, the more I get why we held on for so long."
No, Josh Gordon is amazing, dog.
Like, he was a beast.
Yeah. Somebody was like, this has to be like comparable to what Josh Gordon did. And I was like, Josh Gordon had 1,600 yards in 14 games. Josh Gordon was like the first person. You're like, wow, that might be the next Randy Moss. Like, that's how good, effortless he looked on that football field.
He had other issues. That was his problem.
Yeah, I mean, like, and then we paired him up with Johnny Manziel of all fucking people, right? Like 2 years into that. Like, yeah, hey man, meet this guy Johnny. That's a good influence for you, right? Like, let's just drop a ton of oil right next to your locker and then light that shit on fire and act surprised that you're gonna spend the next 3 years in and out the league's drug policy.
Okay, so with that being said, again, shout out to everybody who's super chatting. That's the way that we highlight your comments, questions, answer, and all that. Then it was an interesting game afterwards. Steelers, Bengals, a tight game. Score was definitely AFC North like game. I was surprised. Ace, you were talking about you guys tried to handle it with that punt, or not fumble, but the guy touched it with his foot. Russell Wilson acting like he was a first-year rookie with that run and other stuff. Mike Tomlin and that play, I don't know if you saw when that play of Russell Wilson happened, they zoom in on Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin was like, what the F just happened? Like his face is like,
as smug as he's been about this Russell Wilson thing working when it was. I'm like, yeah, motherfucker.
Yeah.
That's what everybody else was saying.
George Pickens looked uninterested in this game. Which that's
did George Pickens have negative yards in this game?
Yeah, it's 0. One catch for 0 yards.
Somebody said he went into this game with 900 and left with 870 or some shit like that.
He looked uninterested. He looked, and we had to have a conversation with Josh Pickens at some point in the offseason. But in this game, when they needed him, it wasn't like the passes were all bad. Passes were there. He just couldn't catch anything. I know he couldn't catch anything. He
was on the Kadarius Toney don't give a fuck plan.
He was like, "What am I doing here?" Like I don't even understand. This is a big game for them. I think maybe because Baltimore already won, he was like, "What are we playing? Why am I starting? I'm above this." I don't know the mentality of the kid. I'm not sure. But anyway, that was not a good
pissed
look.
Him off on the way to come back for that hamstring injury. Somebody insinuated that he might not have been coming back as fast as he could have, right? Like this smells like that. This always happens with like certain players. And you're like, yeah, this smells like one of those.
The one silver lining in the case of the Steelers was the defense, right? The defense played well. The defense was strong in this game overall. And then on the other side, the Bengals, overall defensively, they were there. Right. I don't know, Ace, and you can add this to your discussion about this game. I was a little surprised that the Lou got fired because Lou definitely showed progression on the latter half of the season. I understand that overall that the season wasn't that great for the defense, but the back part of the season, that defense played good against good teams. So Ace, let me know what do you thought of this game? Obviously the Bengals won, but what was your thoughts? And then were you surprised that Lou got let off?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised that Lou got let go. From what I hear about people behind the scenes talking to things, he was supposed to actually get fired that first Steelers game. So he was supposed to get fired the first Steelers game after that one where they gave up 41 and they looked atrocious. But what happened was Mike Brown came down and was just like, hey, let's hold off. We'll just do it at the end of the season. So I do agree that the defense played better, but, the writing had been on the wall. This season, 2 years in a row, you're like leading the league in explosive plays allowed, and you just aren't getting anything, especially when some of your best players start leaving. It kind of exposed who Lou was. But the defense sent them out on a good note on this one, right? Like coming into this game, soon as Jamar Chase goes down and gets that touchdown, and then we get a K or a field goal, and we're up 10-0, I'm thinking like, okay, we might blow these guys out. Not because the Steelers aren't a talented team, but it was like the way that game was going. You kind of talked about George Pickens not looking like he wanted to be there. I don't know if you saw that early game camera angle of Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin was looking like it was too cold outside and he didn't want to be there either. I was like, man, this is this is not looking like a team that's really inspired to really do much. And it kind of felt like, once they probably figured out that Baltimore won that game, it was like, all right, like we can go through the motions in this game and
Did
just
they
kind of
figure that out though.
Why bench everybody? Why not bench everybody then?
I'm saying like,
yeah, I get
for Pittsburgh's like point of view. It's like, how are you
surprised
if you're playing with like that low effort? How is that a reaction to something that we thought was very likely to happen? Even like the Ravens were like, what the spread was 20 points or something like that for the Ravens.
Yeah, 19.
So I'm like, how if you've known that was going to happen all week, like how do you come into this game like, man, damn, the Browns didn't come through? Like, how did you not have other why play if your starters? And I'll let you. I'll finish here. But if your starters weren't going to be able to give you that effort, or you didn't feel like you can get the effort out of them, why even play them at that point? Is the question, right? Because like this isn't better than just letting them rest.
Yeah, I agree. It just didn't. I was kind of shocked because I'm like, that's not the Steelers that I'm kind of used to seeing. It just didn't seem like they came out in this one, they came out kind of sleepwalking. But I think once the game got closer, you kind of saw them start to wake up. And that's when I was just like, I don't understand what the Bengals are really doing right now. Like they should be up by several scores at this point, especially at halftime. They're able to be up, I think, 10-7 at the half, 13-7. So I'm like, all right, just come out here and do something. Pittsburgh's probably just going to lay over and just give up. They come out, offense just could not do literally anything. It's just so much dysfunction kind of going on. They settle for some K. York field goal. I'm surprised K. York made all of them field goals.
He was cooking.
I was very surprised by that. And then the Steelers start to wake up. And the whole time I'm like, bro, after the way that we've seen this season go, I know we are not expecting this defense to come through, dog. Like we cannot expect them to be in this position and us not take care of business and expect the defense to do it. And somehow the Bengals defense came through. And I'm saying somehow, but really the reason was Trey Hendrickson. 3.5 sacks in this game. Really took over this game. Jamar Chase was able to do some stuff here and there, but once T. Higgins went out, it was kind of reminiscent and a reminder before the season is over is this offense is not the same without T. Higgins, dog. As soon as he went out, it was like, all right, we're just going to make sure that we hold Chase down, and nobody else was really a threat. They couldn't really get the run game going, even though they tried. And the Zach Taylor, and Trey Hendrickson saved them. Honestly, that was pretty much what saved them in this game was the defense stepping up when they needed to. I still feel like the Steelers didn't really – they were just like, yeah, I guess we'll play this game. I didn't really get from them that it was like, hey, we're going to try to go out here and win it. But the Bengals ended it on a good note. You got the win that you needed. Unfortunately, like I said, that first Steelers game, I'm like, that's the one that you needed because – you can't get into the playoffs with 9 wins. I just knew coming down to 9-8 that wasn't going to be enough. And so when we lost that game and I was defeated, that is literally why I was like, bro, there's no way that they're getting in the playoffs without having 10 wins. And that's how things played out. Like we saw how the other games played out with Kansas City. Jets did what they needed to do, right? But my main concern was the Kansas City game. It went exactly how I expected it to. But they were able to fight back. But I was glad that it wasn't a circumstance, which the Bengals have done this in the past, is, all right, we've won these games. Everybody's good. We rallied at the right time. Let's run it back next season. It was like, nah, dog. They had to get Lou up out of there. They had to get Frank Pollock up out of there. Like, this was supposed to be the best version on paper of the Bengals line, and Joe Burrow is still the number one most hit quarterback in the NFL. He had to get out of there. Frank Pollock also was a run game coordinator. Run game was trash this year, dog. I haven't seen good run blocking at all from the Bengals since like the Andrew Whitworth era. Like it didn't matter if it was Joe Mixon, Chase Brown, or whoever. It was just running into a brick wall at times with this offensive line. He claimed that he was bringing glass eaters to town. I don't know, dog. We got one of the softest interiors in the league, in my opinion. So he had to go. I was kind of shocked that they let the defensive line coach go because it's just really Trey Hendrickson, dog. Like Sam Hubbard isn't doing anything. And another reason, like Sonny, you were asking, why did Lou get fired? Another reason is that he kept putting out older players that were clearly washed, overplaying some of the younger, better players. And what happened on this streak of them winning this 5 games is he started to finally play the younger players, but it was just too little, too late. So the Bengals defense ironically ends up saving their season here at the end, but it's just not enough. And so you go into an offseason saying, okay, you got Joe Burrow. Would have liked to have gotten Joe to 5,000 yards, but because the offense sputtered, they weren't able to do that. Jamar Chase was able to secure the Triple Crown. You lost T. Higgins, so that was another mental reminder of, hey, this offense looks a lot different without T. Higgins. This offense was scoring 30 and all of that, but in this game, they were held to 19 in a game where they should have had more, but weren't able to do it. It'll be interesting to see what they do in terms of Mike Gesicki as well. After the game, Joe Burrow said that he wanted T and Gesicki back. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Trey Hendrickson in terms of, will he get any Defensive Player of the Year votes? Where is he going to be at this offseason since he requested his trade? But I will say, Sonny, he is closer to TJ Watt and Myles Garrett than most people think. And I think back-to-back seasons,
for sure,
he at least deserves to be in the conversation. I'm not saying that he has to be better than those guys, but I think he deserves to be in the conversation. So,
I mean, arguably, he had a better season than both of them.
Well, by total sack numbers, yeah.
Oh, yeah, but also, if you think about, and especially in the case of TJ Watt, right? TJ Watt has a lot of help in that D-line. Overall, right? He has another pass rusher.
Cam Hayward is amazing, bro. Hayward in that game, like Jared is saying, like there were so many pass deflections in that game from just Cam Hayward. Yep. He just literally wrecked Cordell Volson for 48 minutes.
Cam Hayward played in fucking Ohio State when I was in fucking grade school, dog.
Cam Hayward has a better case for Defensive Player of the Year this year than TJ Watt does.
Of course.
Cam Hayward balled the hell out. I think he had his best season at age 35. He had a tremendous year.
Which is crazy because I did a whole segment on here and I was like, yeah, scientifically the analytics numbers say when you're 33, you're just gonna go defensive tackle, you're going downhill, and it's like Cam Hayward has defied like all of that shit. He's on that Calais Campbell.
Look, this is one thing about like stats and averages. They're cool. We're talking about average players, but if you're talking about a dude, hey man, Saquon Barkley was running the football while I was in college. He's still pretty good, right? Like Derrick Henry was running the football while I was in college. Like he's still pretty good. Yeah. So like those dudes, yeah, I don't care about the 30+ thing or all that shit. It's like you ride that until
it hit me different, Q, because Geno Atkins fell off a cliff at like 30, 34. Like when he had like his last year, I didn't even remember him. So I'm like, if that can happen to him, because I actually argued this against Zim. It was Carlos Dunlap and Geno Atkins in their 30s. And he was like, nah, dog, I'm getting rid of him. And I'm like, nah, there's some beasts. And like literally both Geno fell off crazy. Carlos, he wasn't the same guy. He descended a little slower, but
no disrespect to Geno Atkins, but like I think Cam Hayward's like when I say this, I mean like when we're talking about guys who are like there are guys who are Pro Bowl better players in their peers, and then there's like that motherfucker's a Hall of Famer.
No, right? Geno Atkins is a Hall of Famer, bro.
You think Geno Atkins is a Hall of Famer?
Geno Atkins was Aaron Donald. He was really Aaron Donald.
I don't think Geno.
I don't remember it feeling like that, but I didn't watch as much Geno Atkins as you did. But yeah, like, from a number, like Geno Atkins was always like really good, but like I gotta look at more of his stuff. I'm not as familiar.
From a pure number standpoint, Geno Atkins is a Hall of Famer. Like in terms of like sacks, like
first ballot.
Yes, Geno Atkins. People would say Geno Atkins is better than AJ Green. Geno Atkins, yes.
I think he's in the Hall of Very Good. Personally,
Hall of Very Good.
I think he's in the Hall of Very Good.
Have you seen?
I would second that. Like, I feel like he was like would you put Grady Jarrett in the Hall of Fame?
Have you seen Geno Atkins stats?
I haven't looked at him in a while, but
yeah, I mean, I haven't.
It's usually like a feel you have too, where it's like, that motherfucker's in the Hall of Fame. But you might have a point.
I mean, Bill Belichick has literally said Geno Atkins is a Hall of Famer.
Bill Belichick can't scout.
I mean, look,
10, 9, 11, 12 and a half. Like, Geno Atkins, like, as a 3 tech, like, he was Aaron Donald before Aaron Donald.
I mean, I'm not going to be shaking my fist if he does get in. Like, cool, that's cool if he does.
But first ballot though,
yeah,
I don't know. First ballot,
bro.
Well, he retired in 2020. We'll find out this offseason because there's 5 years.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think he's a finalist or anything. I'd have to look at the.
No, not this year. He's not in the finalists.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Sacks. He had 3 10+ sack seasons. Like he was a dog. Like no doubt for sure, one of the better players of his generation.
But you got to think about that. Not that many D tackles get like 9.
No, you're right, especially at that
unicorn
time.
At the time.
That's not normal. Like that's like Warren Sapp like numbers.
Yeah, maybe it's because he played for like a lot of bad Bengals teams that he probably didn't get the recognition. I'll be
bad Bengals defenses, I believe, but not bad Bengals.
I think that might hinder him a little bit.
He didn't play on. He was on a lot of good Bengals defenses. Like that was like the Mike Zimmer years.
Let me correct you. It's Bengals teams that did not do anything in the playoffs.
Yeah,
and in a small market, not that many people knew about him, but yeah, he was. And like when I say that he was Aaron Donald before Aaron Donald. He wasn't as good as Aaron Donald, but he was like that 3 tech that was getting that inside pressure, like you had the game plan for Geno Atkins anytime you played the Bengals.
From 15 to 18, he had 11 sacks, 9 sacks, 9 sacks, 10 sacks. That's impressive.
Yeah, like he was an 8-time Pro Bowler. He was an All-Pro. He was like Geno is better than like the way people talk about AJ Green. Geno Atkins was better than AJ Green.
You know, I was sitting there statement for the whole 8-time Pro Bowler. You know, I'm not going to pretend to be a Geno Atkins aficionado, so he'll probably get in then off that, right?
He'll get in. I think he'll get in eventually.
3-sack dog is crazy.
2-time All-Pro. He's on the Hall of Fame All 2010 team.
Yeah, he'll get in then. If he's on the All-Decade team, he'll get in.
First ballot, I don't know, but like definitely
the reason he gets in is because Hall of Fame. Most of the time they go off numbers. Obviously, they go off of Super Bowls, but like the numbers that he has for a 3-tech, like there's nobody other than
I agree with you, Ace.
And Aaron Donald that are touching those.
I've just never thought about Geno Atkins as a Hall of Famer, to be honest with you.
And neither
I've never really thought about it.
If you were saying Carlos Dunlap, I'm like, Carlos Dunlap
not
a Hall of Famer. No. He's in the Hall of good.
He's a Ring of Famer, right? Yeah. Like there's Ring of Fame, there's Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And that's he was an All-Pro first team 2 times. He was second team All-Pro 1 year as well.
Okay. Sorry, Q.
Why did somebody say I couldn't watch Geno Atkins because the Browns were bad at the time? Like, brother, I watch football. Like, what are you talking about?
I remember Geno. I
remember Geno was good. Like Geno was like that.
And Geno was in the era. Remember, they were like they didn't want the, and that's why I say like he was Aaron Donald before Aaron Donald because he played in the time where people didn't want the undersized defensive tackle.
Yeah, Aaron Donald showed shift that paradigm by him. Well, not by himself, but he was a part of that.
Yep, like John Randall, Warren Sapp, him.
That was back when like people used to talk about outside linebackers as these players you draft like late in the draft. Like remember that where it was like, you got to get these undersized, bendy outside linebacker types. Or you can't take like the 4th round.
You can't take a quarterback that's 5'10" or whatever. You can't take anybody that's under 6'4", 240.
Yeah, the NFL has had massive leaps in growth since the NFL I grew up with because like it was really dumb shit going on back then, man.
not to crush the Geno Atkins party, but let me shit on the Steelers for a minute because there's a lot.
Absolutely.
Yep, let's do it.
There's so much that I hated about this last month, and the biggest part of it was Tomlin was talking about like the game plan and whatnot, and how they really wanted to assert dominance in the run game and whatnot. And they wanted to not put the ball in harm's way when it came to the passing game. For a dude who constantly talks about, we don't live in our fears. That's exactly what you fucking do, Mike Tomlin. Every goddamn week, you coach scared all the time. And I'm so tired of it, bro. I'm so tired of everybody outside of Pittsburgh telling us every year around this time of year that we're crazy for wanting change when the same shit happens all the time. At 10-3, I was singing his praises because he deserved it. He was doing a great job. And then he reverted back to Mike Tomlin. Can't even be competitive against good teams. I understand that we're going to go 4-0 down this stretch and, beat the Chiefs, the Ravens again, the Bengals, the Eagles. Like, I understand that was going to be a challenging stretch. To not even be competitive, though, You lose 3 of those games by 14 or more points. And if you get Arthur Smith, he's also fallen off a cliff in terms of his play calling creativity. If you look at the first down efficiency, his numbers on running on first down are worse than Matt Canada's were. He also runs on first. They ran on first down every first down that they had in the first half.
Yeah, very predictable.
And Arthur Smith wants to sit up here and say, I don't think the offense is predictable. Bro, everybody knows what you're doing, especially on first down. And there are just so many things that it's frustrating as a fan. And obviously the picking stuff, like, yeah, bro, you can't have 3 drops and be arguing with fans and need Russell Wilson and Pat Freiermuth to talk you down and get you focused. Like, it's just the same stuff every year. And at some point, that comes back on the head coach when it's different quarterbacks, when it's different GMs, when it's different coordinators. You can fire as many people as you want, different staff as much as you want. Eventually, that comes back on you. And again, I've said it on here before, 5 times in the last 7 years, you lose at least 3 in a row after Thanksgiving. Like, that's a pattern, and it's not getting better. And it's incredibly frustrating as a fan when the defense seemed to figure some stuff out. Like, that was good. I mean, you slowed down a Bengals team that had been doing very, very good. Joe Burrow didn't have a crazy day. The first drive, like, yeah, him and Chase had, the connection that we know that they do. Chase scores a touchdown. After that, though, like, they played really solid. Joe didn't have another passing touchdown. They had Cade York kick a bunch of field goals. So, like, the defense, for the most part, did their job. If you're only giving up 1 touchdown pass to Joe Burrow, you did something right. Even though, like, again, the first drive was bad because they put Corey Trice on an island with Jamar Chase. And, like, Corey Trice has played fine this year, but, like, what do you expect when you're leaving him one-on-one with the best receiver in the world? Like, I don't know. That's a scheme issue at that point. And that's a coaching issue at that point. So, yeah, I'm just kind of tired of it. All that said, if they win this week, it's going to be great. But it's a catch-22 because if they don't win, there's going to be even more outside noise saying, bro, what are we doing? Make some changes. There's going to be more people saying, hey, trade Tomlin. There's going to be more teams calling saying, hey, you want to trade for Mike Tomlin? Eventually, you're going to have to listen to those calls if nothing changes. But if they beat Baltimore, I feel like that resets this entire thing. Where it's going to be like, okay, he's got a playoff win. It was against the Ravens. We can do 8 more years of this shit. Like, it's a double-sided sword where I would love to watch them beat Baltimore in Baltimore in the wild card round. That would be great. But at the same time, then what happens in the offseason? You're going to run it back with Russ again and do this? Like, I don't think you should run it back with Russ. If you're going to take one of them, I would take Fields because you can get him for cheaper. He's younger. He can do more with his feet. And hopefully a year in the system, he gets a little bit more comfortable with the concepts and whatnot. So that is what I'm worried about, is that if they do beat Baltimore, they're going to be like, oh, we're only a piece away. We can do this with Russ. And I'm like, bro, no, you can't. You can't. So go ahead.
The last time we say I got to head out real quick. I do think that there's a lot in this game coming up that makes me want to go pick Pittsburgh, because Baltimore has 2 things that I'm worried about, which is they don't play well against Pittsburgh usually, and they don't play well in the playoffs usually. But again, the Steelers just feel so Corvette to me that I have to go with Baltimore here. But I do think Baltimore is only going to win this game in a way that's going to infuriate Jared Bailey. Like, there's no way where it's like, hey, man, better team won. Like, that's not going to go down. It's going to be a way where it's like it 100% felt like the Steelers lost this game. Like, it didn't feel like the Ravens gave them their best effort. So that's where I'm at with Pittsburgh at this point. Look, I thought they were going to win a playoff game, man, like a month or 2 ago. I was bought in on this, and I was like, they're right about Russ. They're going to win a playoff game. And now I'm like, theirs might be like, as much as we joke about, hey, the Steelers cannot go under 500, it feels like there's also a ceiling that exists for this team. Like, every time they're about to punch out of that ceiling and make it seem like they're about to break out of it, this team for a long time does something that makes you go, never mind, why did I even believe in it? Like, even going back to the Triple B teams where they were losing to Jacksonville in the first round, or Tim Tebow, right? And then we get the Corvette year where they're the 1 seed, well, about to be the 1 seed. They lose the 1 seed, get the 2 seed, play Cleveland, and they get blown out by all teams in Cleveland, in Pittsburgh, by Cleveland in Pittsburgh. And it's like, we don't talk enough about the ceiling that feels like is apparent on these Tomlin teams since like 2010, like since he won that second ring. And I think that's a conversation that more people are going to start to have if Pittsburgh loses their final 5 games of the season. And it's not like a new thing for Pittsburgh to do. Like, this is kind of like they're one more season of doing this away from them being like, from you being like, hey, they're doing the Steelers thing, right? Like, it's almost a thing. It's borderline a thing at this point. So that's where Pittsburgh is in my mind. They should have a real chance to beat Baltimore because Baltimore has their own questions to answer. But if they keep looking like this team, man, they can't buy a win down the stretch, then they're just not going to be able to beat Baltimore, especially if Lamar does not have one of them funky Lamar Jackson games that he tends to have in versus the Steelers and in the playoffs. But I had to head out. I got to talk about the good team in Cleveland, the Cavaliers. But appreciate y'all. Peace.
With that, Jared, and before we break down a little bit of the Ravens and Ace, we have a couple of super chats, and then we'll go to the main game this Saturday. Noah Stone says Miles likes Beemore. He looks great in he would look great in purple.
They would not trade him. If they release Myles Garrett,
they wouldn't release him.
There's no way they're trading him to Boston.
The question here is more: do you think Cleveland? Let's say
Cleveland is not trading him to the Ravens. That's
no. But my point is, let's say the Cleveland said, okay, we'll let him pick his team.
They're not trading him to Baltimore. I promise.
They're not trading him to Baltimore. This is not Madden
or in division. They're not doing any of that.
They're not trading them to you. They're not trading them to me. They're not trading them to him.
I'll take Miles. It would be great.
Everybody would take Miles. He's not going.
No shit. That's like sitting here, like if you're sitting and be like, I guess I date Sydney Spring. I guess I date
two first.
Like, okay, dude. Like, sure.
I'll send them 2 firsts for Mr. Myles Garrett,
and they'll tell you to stick it. They're not giving him to Baltimore, bro.
Okay. Rewrite here says, Ace, do you think they keep both T and Trey? If not, which one is priority for them, and which do you want more? By the way, this is a comment. We have an internal messages between all of us, and I did say something like this to Ace, and Ace, she told me Trey is on a contract, and the only reason I brought the whole Trey was because this offseason he wanted a new contract, right? Yeah. And he sat down the whole offseason, and they basically said, well, pound sand, you still have like another year. After coming back-to-back 7.5 sacks, I think he will have a even more of an argument. Now, they can say, well, you can sit out because you're under contract.
Yeah. He's got leverage in this for sure. The thing that people get mixed up with Trey about last season, which the Bengals should have, in my opinion, I thought it was stupid for them to not do this. It wasn't that he wanted more money. He wanted more years. Like, he wanted to make sure that he was going to be around on the Bengals team for more than just this year. So it wasn't a thing of, hey, I want the contract renewed and I want a bump. He was just like, hey, I don't have any years on my contract after next season. And he wanted to make sure that he was here long enough to kind of be like, all right, I am a part of this team. Whereas I don't want to go into next year like he would this season, not knowing if he's a part of the future, because it's no secret that once the Bengals get guys that are like at 30, normally they kind of move on from those guys for the most part. Like once a player gets to 30, they don't really extend them. They kind of move on. So he actually wanted just more years. It wasn't that he wanted more money. Now that he's had this season, I think it's going to be more years and more money. However, I don't know like how that's going to go. I don't know if it's like a situation where they're like, okay, we'll add on another year at your current number, or if he wants more money now. That's going to have to be answered, I think, in the offseason. Would Mike Brown trade Trey Hendrickson if he asked for a request? No, because he didn't do it last season. So like that's when I'm sitting here saying like he's under contract. Mike Brown is the same guy that did not blink against Carson Palmer when he was like, hey, I'm going to retire. And like, he just was like, all right, you're going to play out your contract. Now, Can he not show up? Can he not do all of that? Sure, he can do that. There's been other guys that have done that too, though. We've seen that with Jesse Bates. We saw it. Well, actually, T. Higgins actually showed up, so we didn't see it with T. But we've seen guys in the past say, like, hey, I'm not showing up for camp and all of that. And they basically end up playing the season. So would they honor a trade request from Trey? I think they like Trey and respect Trey. I think they think about it, but I think given what just happened this season, them going 9-8, given that they know that Trey Hendrickson is one of the best players in the NFL, no, they're not going to get rid of Trey Hendrickson. So do I think that they're going to get rid of T? No, I don't think that they're going to get rid of T because Joe Burrow has literally made it known he is like T. Higgins being gone and them letting good players go is just not going to be accepted from him on that standpoint. And T. Higgins, Jamar, and T have already come out and said like they want to play with each other for the foreseeable future. So Joe Burrow's already said that there are things that he can do in his contract. T now has the same representation as Jamar, so that makes it even easier for them to get this done. And I have personally heard, like I think a lot of people are assuming T wants to set the market or get something close to what Jamar has. I've been told that that's not what T's motivation is. T just wants to get a pretty decent deal and wants to make sure that he's a Bengal. It doesn't have to be the same amount as Jamar Chase. Now, Jamar wants what Jamar wants. Jamar is not budging. I don't think Jamar is taking any kind of discount or anything like that. I did hear the number that T's old former agent was trying to get for him. I don't think like even that number isn't what people are assuming that it's supposed to be. So I think that they can getting something done with T. Higgins is doable. Are they going to let Trey leave? I don't think so. Even if they don't get a extension done with T, I could see them franchising T again next season. So like to me, they're both going to be here, I guess is what I'm saying. The priority for them, I think, would actually be T more than Trey. And that is because the priority for Joe Burrow has been all T. It's been T and Chase, and he doesn't want either one of those guys going. So I think he would sign with those guys, obviously, because he throws them the football. Like, of course, he loves Trey too, but you're not hearing Joe Burrow in these press conferences talk about Trey Hendrickson as a guy that they expect to lose.
Okay, Ray Rack also says now he made the 2010 All-Decade Teammates. Is right. He will.
Geno Atkins was crazy, fam. Like he to me he has a way better shot than AJ Green in making the Hall of Fame. I don't know if AJ Green makes the Hall of Fame. And I'm like one of the biggest AJ Green fans, but
I don't think AJ Green gets in the Hall of Fame personally.
Yeah. Noah Stone here says if Ravens beat the Steelers, I think this is LJ 2006.
I don't know what that's referring to.
I don't know what it's referring to either.
LJ 2006.
It happened in 2006.
Yeah, because he never won a national champion either in college.
Well,
I mean, in 2006, he wasn't even in college.
I'm thinking about what happened with the Ravens in 2006.
I'm thinking about what happened with Tom Brady. I'm thinking about what happened with Tom Brady because this has the tie-in with Tom Brady.
Yes.
Did Tom Brady beat the Steelers in 2006?
No, the Steelers didn't make the playoffs in 2006.
Dude, how do you remember just like that the years that your boys made?
Well, because they won the Super Bowl in 2005, and then that
Manning 2006. Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's the first Peyton Manning reference I've heard from you.
I know. Oh, but it kind of makes sense because that's the reputation of Manning. I got you now. Okay. Rousers here says it could be like Revis. Send him to Tampa, then New England. I'll take that.
There's a lot of
moving parts have to happen. Like if somebody cuts him, yeah, sure. But who's cutting Myles Garrett, bro?
Nobody who wants to have a job in the NFL.
That's fine.
That's not happening.
I'll take Matt Max.
Let's come back down to planet Earth now.
And Tyron here says, do you guys see the video of someone in the Ravens locker room calling Pickens soft?
Yeah, they were like passing around Lamar's cologne, which probably smells like crab cakes and feet. And
it's very soft.
He's somebody in the background.
Very soft.
Yeah, you can hear somebody in the background saying, "Smells like George Pickens soft." So hopefully that leads to like an 8-catch, 200-yard game, and I'm in my living room losing my mind. That would be great.
I haven't seen the video actually. I need to look for this video.
I have seen the video, yes. So I know what he's talking about. Yes, I did indeed see that. I don't know what's gonna happen, man. Like I think there's a 9.5 point spread on this. I think that's crazy. Yeah.
Although last time ended up being last time was 6.5. And we both said the same thing. We said
that's the thing, though. I don't think that's going to happen in 2 straight games. I think that would be absurd. So I think that they'll, at minimum, cover. I think, obviously, there's a world where they win this game just because they have had a lot of success against the Ravens just over the last decade or so. And even the last game, I think the score is a little bit less indicative of how close it was because, again, if Russ doesn't make 2 boneheaded plays, that completely changed the course of the game. So, but on the other side of the coin, Russ hasn't played great in the last month, so it's certainly possible he does just that again. I personally think Justin Fields should start this game. I think that Russell Wilson has played his way out of a starting job. He has not played good. He is 30th out of 31 qualified quarterbacks in EPA per play over the last 5 weeks. The only quarterback that's worse is Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So he has not played well.
You don't think they sign him back? You don't think they pay him?
They're not going to give him $30 million. They're not going to do that. If they do, somebody needs fired. But with Field, like it's supposed to be a bad weather game. It's supposed to be snow heading toward Baltimore.
In the morning only. Right now, it's only in the morning. By the time,
I mean the field probably isn't going to be in the best condition. Yeah, I guess they can probably get it cleaned up by nighttime, right?
Yeah.
Even so, regardless, they pulled Justin Fields after he was playing well. Why are you continuing to play Russell Wilson after he's played horrid over the last month? No reason for it. Even Justin Fields, like he's been obviously humble about it and whatnot, but he was asked about, what he thinks he showed the season. And I showed what I showed. And like, that is a guy who knows that he should be playing on Saturday. And I hope that we see at least some of him. But Russell Wilson shouldn't be started. He's not played well enough to hold on to the starting job. You brought in both of these guys for a reason. I think that Justin Fields should be the starting quarterback if anything, just because of what he gives you with his legs. And the passing game hasn't been there with Russell Wilson. At least with Fields, like even if the go ball isn't there, at least he can take off and run and give you some extra yards. So I think with that extra element in it of itself, Fields probably gives him a little bit more of an advantage. I think that they should at least do something with the Justin Fields package and give him some carries and at least keep defenses honest and on their toes. We'll see what happens. But Steelers defense seems to have gotten some stuff figured out against Cincinnati. Like I said, only giving up 1 touchdown and 19 points. I think that this is a game that plenty of guys have said this is the game that they wanted. Broderick Jones said, I'm happy that we're playing Baltimore. Jalen Warren said, I'm happy we're playing Baltimore. So like, there's a lot of these dudes who that last game left a bad taste in the mouth. I think that they're going to do their very best to shock a lot of people who don't think they're going to win this game. And I would be, I already put my money where my mouth was. I bet them to win the game. So I put 20 down on Steelers money line and under 48.5. I think the total over under right now is like 44, but I didn't alt just to be safe. So hopefully they win, make me a little bit of money in the process. And then after that, they go to Arrowhead and GG. Yeah, you'll want a playoff game, gents. Which, by the way, I said coming into the year, if they win a playoff game, I would consider that a success.
For me, this game will come down to a couple things. Pickens obviously cannot be the Pickens for you guys. Cannot be the Pickens that show up over there against the Bengals. I think one of the things that the Steelers are going to try to do in this game, they're going to try to feed him early, even simple catches, right? I know they love the rainbow catch to Pickens, but I think this is a game that you short routes, quick routes, just so he can say, okay, I'm in it. I'm part of the game plan. I think with George Pickens, he gets into his mind a lot. On the other side, if you're Baltimore, that's what you want. You want to push him to the limit, push him. His psyche goes all over the place because then he's not set in the field, right? And obviously, he's his best receiver by a mile. Now, you still have Calvin Austin, which against us, he played really good. I think he's a really good receiver. But definitely when you have Pickens, he is a game changer. Baltimore needs to make sure they've done a good job on this. To choke those running lanes, to not allow Najee Harris or Warren to run all over them. Because if they are running hard, now the play action can come. That's when Russell Wilson feels the most comfortable. and you have Powermouth over there peeking out on the side on the flat on a curl route for 8 to 15 yards and blah blah blah. Right? We don't want that shit. We want to make sure you show those running lanes. You want to make sure it's 3 yards or less of running average for the running backs. And then on the offensive side, which our defense has been balling out. Actually, I was reading a stat in the last 7 game or 8 game, I can't remember. The Ravens are the number 1 defense in the NFL, right? But more than that, one thing that people don't discuss enough is the offense helps the defense a lot. In the case that it is crazy how many teams, if our offense scores early, are starting to go on 4th and down early in the game, like panicking because like we were not gonna keep up, right? So now the defense gets to the field, it's a 4th and 3, and they stop the other team, and the offense takes over. They can score again, and then the game gets basically over, out of control for the other team. And that's something the offense needs to do. They need to put the pressure against a great defense, right? Against a defense that knows you. Against a defense, it's not going to be easy. But if Henry's running all over them, which I don't think is going to be as easy, but in the second game, there was success there. And if Lamar Jackson doesn't, or there's a turnover free, think about this. The first game took the Steelers 2 turnovers and 2 Justin Tucker missed field goals for them to win by 2. And the second game, it was a turnover-free game for the Ravens, right? There's a lot of fumbles. I think both teams fumbled like 5 or 6 times. Nobody recovered.
The Baltimore, they forced a fumble on Lamar. Highsmith had a strip sack, but then the Ravens recovered. And then on the punt, they forced a fumble and the Ravens recovered too. So the Steelers are getting those bounces.
Yeah. I think the Steelers also fumbled 1 or 2 times, but I think we didn't get it. We got the pick 6, but I think no fumbles were recovered in that game. So assuming we don't have any turnovers switch the game for anybody. You're playing the Chiefs and you get a pick 6, that can change your whole game, right? But assuming none of that shit happens. If Lamar is precise, as he's been all year, and turnover free, you think about this. Lamar has how many picks? Do you guys know how many picks Lamar threw this year?
4.
You know how many against the Steelers? 2.
Yeah.
Half of the picks were against the Steelers, right? So needs to have a turnover free, in my opinion. Last time, it didn't. In the second game, it didn't hurt him because Russell Wilson 2 plays later threw a pick 6. That's not only a pick; it was a pick 6. So saying that, if the offense puts pressure and the defense is doing their thing, I think the Ravens win. I think it has the potential to win by 10 points, right? Which is the spread. I wouldn't bet it. I think this is a 3 to 6 point game, but if Russell Wilson plays like he has been playing lately, if the Ravens play like they have been playing lately, I can see why. I mean, I think still it's a crazy spread, but I can see why some people think it's a possibility. Like I said, running the ball for Baltimore and controlling the running game is key. Pressure. Joe Burrow in this game with their Steelers and Bengals, he was getting hit left and right, getting abused, right? You can't happen that with Lamar. Now, Lamar's more slippery than Joe Burrow, right? Joe Burrow is really good stepping on the pocket, and I'm not saying that Joe Burrow has no mobility, but obviously Lamar can take off, it can move. I wonder how the Steelers are gonna play him, because the Steelers, one thing they do, and they do it this well, sometimes they don't rush they almost stop, right? They rush their 4 or 5, and they basically create the bubble and stop themselves short to beating the guy to avoid Lamar breaking containment and now having him outside the pocket either for a long shot that he has been completing or taking off, right? I wonder if they're going to put Pat Queen as a spy. Pat Queen had a really good game against Baltimore in their first game matchup and a very poor game in Baltimore in the second matchup. So those are very interesting facts. Look, the reality is these teams know each other so well. I always say this in the AFC North. It doesn't really matter if one team is 17-0, the other team might be 1-16. The 1-16 team could have, or not could, it has a shot because these teams know each other so good. I still think Baltimore should win, could win. They look locked in. They talk a lot how bad the taste of the mouth of losing to the Chiefs, how they lost last year. The they look like a man in a mission. Lamar got asked about like, hey, are you excited about winning the division? And he said, yeah, it's cool, but that's not my goal. Like that was cool and all, but we have a different set that we're looking for. That was before he knew it was the Steelers. Obviously, we talked before. Steelers give Lamar a hard time in their 5 matchup, but I think this Ravens team again, they're clicking. They're playing good. Now, if on the other side, if the Steelers come in and completely, if I'm the Steelers, my job will be shut down the run on all cases. If Bateman wants to beat me, so be. I mean, Say Flowers might not play, right? Bateman wants to beat me. If the tight ends both likely or Andrews wants to beat me, cool. But I'm not allowing. I will put it in the box if I was the Steelers and force the Ravens to be one-dimensional. I don't think they're gonna do that. I don't think Tomlin will do that. I don't think they're gonna blitz too much. So I'm gonna go with the Ravens. I think the Ravens win by a touchdown. But it will be a close game throughout, and just pull it at the end by a touchdown. Ace.
So I have several questions for this. The first one is Zay Flowers playing in this game?
I doubt it. That's what I think.
Looks like a no.
That is very huge, and I'm not sure why that's not being taken into account. 9.5 points on the spread. The other question I have is, I know the Steelers have had injuries in their secondary. Are those guys expected to be healthy in this game, Jared?
I think Dante Jackson, I'd have to pull up his injury report. I want to say that he was limited in practice. So we'll see about him. Even so, though, like Dante Jackson hasn't played great. So I think that Corey Trice is the better option personally right now.
Gotcha.
Well, we'll see what they decide to do. But I think that their top 3 at least should be out there.
Last question is, what is the weather supposed to look like in this game?
It's there's a chance, it's a 50% chance of snow until noon. And then there's no, as of right now, there's no more chance of snow or rain. Should be cold, very cold.
It's going to be cold and gross, is basically what I'm expecting.
Yeah, it's not like have you checked the forecast in Buffalo? Not to take a tangent. It's snowing from today all the way to like next Monday.
I mean, that's just Buffalo.
Every day.
9.5 points for an AFC North game where these two teams have always, with the exception of the last game, have always played it close with more on the line in this game. I mean, you could argue that. I think if the Ravens were to lose this game, I don't think anything's being blown up. I think they come back next season. Maybe you have a conversation about Harbaugh.
I was going to say, like, if they lose this game, you got to at least have a conversation, right?
You have a conversation about Harbaugh for sure. But there are people writing things, and I know you've seen this as well, Jared, that they would just completely gut this Steelers team if they lose, which I don't know if that's the right thing, but
they should. They wouldn't. I promise you, regardless of the outcome of this game, Tomlin will be back. So I feel like I'm yelling into a void whenever
we're saying Cam Hayward and all these guys are back if they win. All right.
Yeah, I mean, Hayward signed an extension this past offseason. I don't think there's going to be much changes. It's a lot of lip service, in my opinion.
I feel like a lot of what's going into this game is just going off of the very last game and going off of the fact that the Steelers are kind of reeling right now. The one thing I'll say, though, is the game against the Bengals, the Steelers actually played pretty well in that one. And I think, if they don't get what happens to them at the end of the game and they do get a field goal, they likely win that game. The biggest part from that game is that their defense was back in that game. Cam Hayward played insane.
Yeah, he did.
TJ Watt didn't have the greatest game, but that's because we triple teamed him.
Oh, even then, he had a strip sack that was negated by a Corey Trice hold. I
don't know. This seems like a little bit of a trap. I could see this if the Ravens were playing like the Texans, but they're playing the Steelers, a division rival that knows them, and it's like this is the 3rd time in a row. And this is a Steelers team that hasn't won a playoff game in 8 years.
Yeah.
So they're thirsty for this. I'm still going to go Baltimore, but they could lose this game. This is going to be a tough game for them because of just the nature of it. I think 2 AFC North teams playing. It's going to be a rugged game. I just have a hard time thinking that Zay Flowers isn't a difference maker in this game. Like I think back to the last game, if I'm not mistaken, Zay Flowers had a pretty good game. I remember him scoring a touchdown. He had some pretty good plays. For him to not be here in this game, I know that they have Mark Andrews, but if I am the Steelers, I am loading the absolute box against Derrick Henry without Zay Flowers being there. Like, respect to Rashad Bateman for what he's done this season, but nah, dog, I'm literally loading the box and trying to stop Derrick Henry every single time that I can. Now, Lamar probably can do enough to squeak this one out. I'm kind of baffled that this one is 9.5, especially with the Steelers being healthier. I know that Russell Wilson hasn't played great. Maybe they figured that the Ravens defense just knows what to expect from the Steelers offense. But at the end of the day, dog, I don't care what you did in the last 4 or 5 games as the Steelers. Like, this is a new season. Like, the playoffs are a new season, and all they need to do is win this game. And who knows, what factors may happen here. But I just think it's crazy that this is a 9.5 point game against the Steelers. Like if this was this would have to be like Duck. Like, even if Duck Hodges was here, 9.5 points is a lot of points, dog. And I think that this is a very winnable game for the Steelers. I think more of the pressure for this game is on the Ravens because the expectations now are that the Steelers – like Vegas is telling you, people are saying they're not expecting this to be a competitive game because 10 points is, to me, that's not a competitive game. So
that's a blowout.
They're saying the Ravens should just walk in and just, beat the Steelers convincingly. And I'm like, nah, I'm not seeing that in this game. So I'm going to pick Baltimore, but I think that the Steelers could win this game, bro. Especially we're talking about the law of averages. Like, George Pickens isn't coming out in this game and having 0 receiving yards. And now you just gave him ammunition to be motivated where it's caught on video of you calling him soft. Like that. And like I've said, if the Steelers are going to win football games and be explosive as an offense, it has to go through George Pickens. It literally has to go through George Pickens. And we'll see, bro. But I think that that's a little – not that it's in the same vein as when the mayor of Cincinnati was, talking shit about the Chiefs. But, that is something that's going to be on the bulletin board for George Pickens, who, after coming off of a rough game, has every reason to try to shine in this one for people to forget that. I just think that you're playing with fire there. When it comes to the run game, I think, like I've said, Jaylen Warren is the guy. We'll see which guy that they go with in this one. But I think that this is a game for Mike Tomlin where you're going to have to rally the troops. Because I also saw the clip of Russ kind of trying to get Cam Hayward to get motivated and stuff like that. It does seem like there may be some doubt there. So for Russ, he's got to come out and try to ball this game. If he wants to win that locker room back, this is when it needs to happen because nobody's going to care about the regular season, dog. What matters is this actual game here. So we'll see. I think that it's crazy that it's at 9.5 because I feel like when any of these teams play each other, it's always going to be a close game. I'm going to pick the Ravens here, but, bro, I do think that the Steelers can win this game. I think that this is a coin flip. I don't think that this is –
Oh, you think it's that close?
Yeah, it's a coin flip. Steelers, Ravens. We're talking about when is the last time you guys ever played each other in the playoffs?
Oh,
yes. Never in Baltimore.
When was the last time that you guys played in the playoffs?
2014.
A while ago.
2014.
The Ravens won the last. Yeah, Flacco's the quarterback, and it was.
Will Anderson is a good friend of mine. I'm not trying to humble brag. He told me the way these games are, they're so dangerous. He was he couldn't go through another one of those the next season. He was I can't do another Steelers Ravens game. This one is going to be nasty, dog. There's going to be people fighting in the stands. This is going to be a nasty game. This is a game that I think is won by a field goal, dog. I honestly, this is going for the under, bro. I don't think that this is over game. I think that, like I said, I think the Ravens pull it out. But man, this is going to be a tough game. I'm definitely going to be watching this game. This is going to be an interesting one to see. Like I said, we've all watched Russ. We know that the decline has happened. That is not going to matter if either one of these teams come out hot and just wins the game, because that's all that needs to happen at this point. So I'm going to take the Ravens, but man, I think that's crazy. Like we literally had a game this season that was 18-16. And so, like, I'm not trying to go off of just recency bias. I'm just going off of the history of these two teams. I think it'll be close.
I'm picking the Steelers to win. I think that the lack of Zay Flowers is going to be huge for this. And if they are smart,
that is huge, bro. Like, it's not a flyby. Like, if Rashad Bateman was out this game, and that's no shade towards him,
right?
I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, they can easily win without Rashad Bateman because Zay Flowers is an explosive player. I look at it as, and you could argue that sometimes it's kind of been Zay Flowers, then Mark Andrews. You could say Mark Andrews, then Zay Flowers. But, like, Zay Flowers is that guy. Like, that's a huge part of your offense that they don't have to game plan for in this game. And I think people will be comfortable with stacking the box, and it's just Rashad Bateman has to beat JPJ on the outside.
We saw them do a little bit more of, like, sending extra guys. They sent Patrick Queen up the A-gap a few times against the Bengals. Like, I think that we're starting to kind of see them send a little bit more pressure, help out TJ Watt in the defensive line a little bit. And if you can just say, all right, we'll make sure we pay attention to Bateman, but are they worried about Nelson?
I just don't want to come off as like a Ravens hater, but bro, this game is not that simple for them to be.
Right.
10-point spread against the Steelers.
Well, that is crazy.
At minimum, the line's insane. Like, I think that they'll be. I
think a good line for this game would have been 4.5.
And I think even in that Bengals game, I still didn't feel like the Steelers were really like that. They really cared about that game. I don't feel like the effort that we're gonna see this Saturday and the effort that we saw last Saturday against the Bengals is gonna be completely different.
Steelers just need to prepare for Nelson Aguilar. That's what's gonna happen here.
If Nelson Aguilar beats them, then you tip your cap.
I might have to sprinkle something on that point spread, dog. I'm sorry. And it's plus 400 Steelers money line.
That's what I took. Throw 20 on it, bro.
I would take. Yeah.
I think the best thing that they can do, load the box. Don't let
Henry Minka Fitzpatrick is still alive. Cam Hayward is still alive. TJ Watt's still alive. Alex Highsmith is still alive. Like,
they're largely healthy right now. Like, they had.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, everybody. Like, I'm like, is there something that I'm missing? Because I know, like, for this like downward streak that they've had, I know that there's been injuries in the secondary, but I'm like, if everybody's back, 10-point spread against the Steelers defense in the playoffs, I don't know about that, dog.
Yeah, I think that I'll be the one guy who says that they'll win. A lot of it's hope. A lot of
what did Quincy say? Who did Quincy pick?
I think he said, like, I feel like I should pick Steelers just because of everything we've talked about. But he still said Baltimore. So
I'm gonna pick. Then I'm gonna go Steelers then because it's got to be split. This isn't a foregone.
He said that the Steelers feel like a
Corvette. Yeah. So
Corvette. I don't know if I agree with that analogy though. Like, you have Lamar that's an MVP, so this isn't you being taken by surprise by like Ryan Finley or something like that.
No, he's basically saying the whole season of the Steelers feels like that. That's what he's
saying. Like it's gonna collapse now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, bro. Like,
regardless of what happens in the offseason,
Tomlin has got to be like this. This is what I said last week. I think the Steelers, out of anybody, wanted the Ravens. Like, going into this playoff scenario, I think they want them because they're familiar with them. Now you're possibly getting them without Zay Flowers. Like, I don't know, bro.
He hasn't practiced by the way. So he hasn't practiced, and the report was that he will miss at least a week, which will be this week.
I mean, that feels pretty. I feel good about, like, as a Steelers fan. I
just saw what the Bengals looked like when T. Higgins was there, and then once T. Higgins was out, it was like the offense was not a day. I'm not saying that the Ravens won't still be a good offense, but missing one of your best players from your offense is definitely going to affect the offense.
Right.
No doubt. I mean, if you check in the last game against the Steelers, Zay Flowers have 5 receptions for 100 yards. So obviously that's
what, because I remember that I was like, Zay is showing out, and he was like, I remember it was the whole thing where he's like, you're not a Raven until you beat the Steelers.
Yep.
And he balled that game.
Yep.
And I'm not saying Henry is he just said Henry. Henry is definitely a somebody, but as a person that has game plan for Derrick Henry, that's obviously him on another team, you can do things to completely focus on Derrick Henry to try to slow him down where he won't be as effective. But that's what I'm saying. Zay is so big because when you have Zay on the outside, you can't just fill the box like that.
Yeah,
maybe Mark Andrews. Maybe they have something where Mark Andrews can help break that up. But that's the only thing where I'm looking at it because I'm like, bro, Zay Flowers is big because he's gonna make a defense say that we can't load the box all on these guys.
Before I gotta hop off, I'll say this. I think that we'll get a big splash play from either Patrick Queen or Deshaun Elliott, one of the former Ravens. And I think that they'll win a low-ish scoring game, something stupid. It would be like 19-16 or something like that in the low scoring range. But I do think that they'll win. And then I'll spend the week talking about how the Chiefs are going to really piss me off when they go to Arrowhead.
I don't think so, but we'll see. Final super chat before we go. Nova Stone here says, fun fact, Tom Brady beat the Steelers in 3 championships games. Nova Stone, I think we know who you are. But thank you for always supporting the show. That will be it for today's show. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We'll be back next week, recapping whatever hell happened on Saturday. Should be a fun one. Hopefully the Ravens win. Oh, wait. The fan vote. It was 50-50 until like a couple minutes ago. What do you guys think it is before we close out?
It's probably close to like 52-48.
How about you, Ace?
I think the Ravens are going to take this one. I think some of the Steelers fans might not feel good about the last couple of weeks. So I don't know if they're in the chat right now. So I'm going to go with Steelers or Ravens 57%.
Ravens 68%.
Oh my God! What's going on?
We'll let y'all go. Take it easy. See you next time. Peace out.